fair and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Holy crap, oh boy, my webcam just died. Hang on just a second. Let me get that fixed. Come on. There we go. Now let's see if it gets picked up over here on the stream. Yeah, I know I'm frozen. I'm frozen because of my webcam died on me. I don't know why, but it did. There we go. All right, we got it all fixed. Oh, wow, focus is like really off. There we go. All right. As long as I'm in focus, I think I'm all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Technical problems, technical issues, they are all on me. I'm a one-man band. That's what you get for this. But anyway, all right. Yay. Yeah, I'm unfrozen. Okay, so first of all, thank you for all of you who have voted. I've been seeing people and hearing people saying that they voted today, which is fantastic. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. Hold on. Let me do this. Okay, maybe that'll change things. If I freeze again, don't worry, I'll come back. It's all right. It happens. Okay, so yeah, blame Russian hackers, 3 Chevy says over on Rumble. No, I can't do that. But several people in my Whiskey Warrior P1 clan have voted already, which is fantastic. Vote. You got to get out. You got to vote. I'm telling you, there is going to be some shenanigans that is going to be going on soon. I'm telling you, and it may have already started. We got 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks out, a little bit less than 2 weeks out, and yeah. So anyway, wonderful stuff going on, of course, in terms of the voting. I'm hearing a lot of good things. We're hearing a lot of comments about the early voting is like unprecedented in many locations. And I am going to attribute that, whether I'm right or wrong, I am going to attribute that to the fact that the Republicans are now realizing that we need to vote early. 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 Get it? Yeah. Mrs. Whiskey is over here saying, yeah, I think you're telling them to vote early. But anyway, so all of that is just fantastic. Yeah, so all of that is just fantastic. And I appreciate all of that. And yeah, it's Nana of JJS over on Rumble says, Trump told us to vote early. We listened. Absolutely. You should listen. All right. Really quickly, I just got to tell everyone, I'm going to make the rounds here really quick. So first of all of you who are over on X, there's about, 60 of you watching over there, according to my count. Welcome to the program. Also, too, I can't forget the Facebook folks. I think I've seen Becky and Tommy there. And then over here on Rumble, I have the usual lot, which is Nana of JJS. We have Woodens, we have Bonnie, we have 3 Chevy, we have Jarhead, we have Buddy Weiser, we have US Abby Girl. We have, let's see, who else? I haven't seen Outlaw Dogs in a while. I think she's busy. I see Mama 5 Kitties. And I think that's got pretty much everyone. Jarhead 13, if I didn't call you out already. There you are. Yeah, I think that's pretty much got everybody. So welcome and thank you. I do appreciate you guys for showing up here. All right. So let me go ahead and get this kicked off. tonight, oh yeah, AKA G. Yeah, I got him. So tonight's Pledge of Allegiance is going to be done by our very own My News over on Rumble. So please, if you don't mind, stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one. If not, in either way, put your hand over your heart and join in with My News in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you very much, My News. And I forgot to call her out in the roundabout. So, but hey, she's here. She is in the for that Pledge of Allegiance. Do me a favor, if you want to hear your version of the Pledge of Allegiance, it's really fairly simple. All you need to do is record yourself doing the pledge, reciting the pledge in your style, whatever style you want, and take that audio file, attach it to an email, and in the to box, send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I'll get you into the rotation. So tonight, of course, we cannot forget this.
Down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
That's right. Tonight is Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. And tonight, I'm actually drinking out of my little bottles. You know, what my family does sometimes is they will get me like these little samplers and stuff. Mainly just because of the fact that they're small bottles and it's easy for me to keep. Well, last year for Christmas, and I'm finally getting to it, but last year for Christmas, my family got me these little bottles of whiskey. This one here is the Jameson Black Barrel whiskey, which is one of my original favorite Irish whiskeys, and that's what's in the glass right now. And if I finish that before the end of the program, then I'm going to add this Jameson the regular Jameson whiskey. Throw that in there too. So just to kind of clear off the shelf for new whiskeys coming in, of course, because I know Christmas is coming and that seems to be a favorite gift for me. And of course, I am drinking it out of the True Grit Roots Network glass. It's got the stones in there. As 3 Chevy says, it takes tones to drink with, Rick. So here we are. And of course, since it is Whiskey Wednesday, and that is True Grit Roots Network, they are our top of the hour sponsor. TGRN.net, True Grit Roots Network. You can find us at TGRN.net. It is right now, we have our TGRN Blues 24/7, 365 Blues channel. And I want to tell you about one of our fantastic shows that we have called Mighty Mouth Blues. It is exclusively at TGRN. It's hosted and produced by multi-award winner Jonathan Oogie Richards and his daughter Amber Burhill. Mighty Mouth Blues brings the hottest mix of new blues and old school hits, along with interviews with artists and blues newsmakers, shaping today's blues from all parts of the world. It airs Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Time, with an encore presentation on Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Now, you can listen to Mighty Mouth Blues and all of our other on-air personalities and shows, plus all the music, again, 24/7, 365, by going to tgrn.net and either listening directly from your browser, or what you can do is you can download our app on both iOS and Android, Or if you already have one of the following three, one of the following three, Live 365, Odyssey, AUDACY, or iHeartRadio. Any one of those three, you can search us up in their catalog of digital radio stations. Head on over to tgrn.net and listen today. TGRN, True Grit Roots Network, with the true TGRN Blues station based out of Austin, Texas. One more for you, folks, only because this is a very special, I should say. Very special. And where it is, you see this shirt that I'm wearing? This is the Declaration of Independence shirt. Now, I wear a lot of these shirts on the program. This one right here is on sale. It is on sale today, meaning you only have a couple more hours to order this, but it is on sale for a special price of $19.99. That's right. This shirt that I am wearing right here, right now, comes in both a men's and women's version. It is the Declaration of Independence with the flag going right across the chest. It is available today only for $19.99. Now, how can you get that special price? You get it by putting in the code 1776 SALE. 1776. That's 1776 SALE in the promo code at checkout, in the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. Okay? That is theflagshirt.com. And you can get this shirt that I'm wearing right here, the Declaration of Independence, for today only for $19.99. That is a fantastic price, folks. I'm telling you, if you want to get this shirt, the shirt that I started off wearing, it's the first shirt that I got from them. It is the first shirt that I wore here on the program for them. If you want to get the Declaration of Independence shirt, you can get it by going to theflagshirt.com for $19.99 by putting in the code 1776 SALE. That's 1776 SALE in the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized for Election Day. This shirt, by the way, if you order it today, you'll actually get it before Election Day. Okay? All right. Where am I? Here I am. Okay. Oh, I missed Mark on Facebook. I blew right past him. He was the first one that stopped by and I missed him. So there we go. Hi, Mark. There you go. All right. Sorry that I missed you before. Okay, let's get things kicked off. I'm sorry I did two promos, but I had to get you that one from Flagshirt. They're doing a special, by the way, every day. And that one I know that a lot of people might be interested in. So there we go. All right. So, folks, these people are going to get more and more nuts. They are going to get more and more nuts. And I'm talking about the moron left, the moron Democrat left who are out there. They're going to get more and more nuts the closer we get to Election Day, especially if the polls and the stats on election results and things like that start coming in and start filtering in, and they don't look good for Kamala Harris. They're going to get worse and worse. What do I mean by getting worse and worse? Well, let me show you here in the, oh boy, it didn't do it. Here we go. Whew. Here in the Daily Fetched. Ah, damn it. I got to fix this. You know, I should really learn to do this before we get on the show. But here we go. All right, there we go. That centers it a little bit better. My OCD kicks in for that. For those of you who are on the audio portion of the program, just go and check out rumble.com. You'll see it. Anyway, here in the Daily Fetched, apparently this unhinged quote unquote Karen confronts a homeowner on their porch, and actually it's through a Ring camera at first, for displaying a Trump sign. And let me just play this for you so that you fully understand what the hell is going on here? Here you go. Boy, I hate it when this happens. Give me just a second here. You know, when I preview these things, sometimes they get off kilter. All right, here we go.
Hi. I want to know how you can vote.
We can't answer the door right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, you can do it now.
Shameful.
Are you the one that walks by here and always screaming at people?
No, I haven't walked by recently.
Okay, because a lot of people walk by and scream.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You are voting for the devil. Don't you know that?
No,
Why are you voting for him?
because I believe he is the moral candidate.
Oh, my God. You for that one.
That's
Moral?
exactly right. That's how your side acts.
Oh, my God.
That's
He's
how
the
you
most
guys-
immoral person around.
In your opinion, that's
Oh,
okay. Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. God
everybody's supposed to.
God bless you.
Folks, this is who they are. Okay, this is exactly who they are, and it's going to get uglier and uglier the closer we get to the closer that we get to the election day, especially as things start looking worse and worse for Kamala Harris, which they're going to, because Kamala Harris is, let's face it, not a good candidate, just like Hillary Clinton was not a good candidate. Joe Biden at least had more political savvy and was able to like pull out a victory, even though it was very thin. But anyway, she just calls him shameful. She calls him names. It says F you. She's yeah. Just I mean, this is who they are. I'm sorry, but you know, people have asked me, they're like on social medias and stuff, because I, of course, most of the time I'll tag my posts with only morons vote Democrat. And there's a reason why I say that. This is an example of one of them. If you get into a conversation with a Republican, a conservative, not necessarily a Republican, but a conservative, 9 times out of 10. Now, I'm not going to deny that there are, you know, crazy, stupid people in our party as well. All right. And again, I'm not a Republican by, you know, choice. I'm a strict constitutional conservative. That's how I describe myself. I'm not registered as a Republican, but I do vote that way. However, this is how they are. If you were to come to a Republican and say, I voted for Kamala Harris, which a lot of them do, I mean, I'll call you a moron. Even on social medias, I'll call you a moron. I'll be like, well, you're a moron. And the reason being is because obviously you're anti-American, you're anti-women, you're anti-America first, you're anti-Constitution, you're anti-rights, you're anti-freedom of speech, you're anti-Second Amendment, and there's just a whole bunch of other things that I could say about following Kamala Harris. But that's as far as it would go. I wouldn't flip you off. I wouldn't tell you, I wouldn't tell you to F off. I wouldn't tell you, I wouldn't call you things that you weren't. But that's what they are. And I was in a conversation with somebody who does one of our Trump trains. By a Trump train, I mean they get together with a bunch of, trucks and Jeeps and whatever else, and they fly Trump flags and they kind of drive around and they honk and stuff like that. They'll honk as they go by here at the studio because I think they see my American flags. And of course, as of now, anyway, if you have an American flag out or you show any kind of patriotism, you are more likely going to be voting for Trump than not. Now, again, these people are nuts. Totally nuts. They're crazy. And it's going to get worse before it gets better, people. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Now, another reason why I call these people morons is because, well, tests have shown that they actually are. Now, they could be and are often what they consider highly educated. Nowadays, being of a higher education generally means, for the most part, not all the time, but generally means that you've been indoctrinated. Okay? That being said, tests and studies have shown that not only, and I've shown you on this program, I've shown these on this program, not only are these people more likely to have been told or will admit that they have been diagnosed with a mental illness, but they also show things like having difficulty with cognitive abilities. Now, this one person on X, he responded to my post. I made a post, and, of course, I signed it, "Only Morons Vote Democrat." Well, he responded to me by putting a link in and saying, no, that's actually not true, that, Democrats are the more cognitive ones. They're not the morons. Except there's only one problem. And here is the study that he posted. I'm not kidding you. This is literally the study that he posted. Here it is in Science Direct. Cognitive ability and party identity in the United States. Now, I just want to point out these highlights that are right here in the gray box that give you a summary of what this study supposedly states. And I'll go through them for my audio portion. For the video guys, you can see them on the screen here. But the highlights. Individuals who identify as Republican have a greater probability knowledge. Individuals who identify as a Republican have higher verbal reasoning abilities. Individuals who identify as a Republican have better question comprehension. Cognitive abilities' effect on party identity works through socioeconomic positions. So those are the 4 bullet point highlights for this study and this survey. Yeah. So in other words, what this guy posted it, trying to make a mockery of me and say that, no, it's actually Republicans that are stupid. But yet the study that he posted, and I'll be honest, it could be a she too, he or she, posted, basically points to the fact that Republicans are actually better or more cognitive, have greater probability knowledge, which is why during COVID, we had a better grasp of the percentages and chances and probabilities and so on and so forth. But here, this is the abstract, so I'm just going to read the first couple lines to you here. So Carl analyzed data from the U.S. General Social Survey and found that individuals who identify as Republican have a slightly higher verbal intelligence than those who identify as Democrat. An important qualification was that the measure of verbal intelligence used was actually relatively crude, namely a 10-word vocabulary test. So even with something that would effectively be easy, the Democrats apparently failed. So it continues here. This study examines 3 other measures of cognitive ability from the GSS: a test of probability knowledge, a test of verbal reasoning, and an assessment by the interviewer of how well the respondent understood the survey questions. In all 3 cases, individuals who identify as Republicans score slightly higher than those who identify as Democrat. The unadjusted differences are 1 to 3 IQ points, 2 to 4 IQ points, and 2 to 3 IQ points, respectively. So in other words, what they're saying is for the test of probability knowledge, Republicans scored 1 to 3 more points than Democrats. For a test of verbal reasoning, we beat them by 2 to 4 points. And the assessment by the interviewer on how well the respondent understood the survey questions, we scored 2 to 3 points higher, respectively. And yet, Republicans are supposed to be the dumb ones. Yeah. No. Folks, these people are morons, and they're just going to get even further and further declining in their social abilities, let's say, for quite some time. Well, why am I talking about this, you ask? Well, it's pretty simple. Because of the fact that I want to demonstrate to you, based on today's release of a story that could possibly have been an October surprise, and yes, for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program, I am putting that in air quotes. Putting both of those in air quotes. The reason being is because there was a story that was released in The Atlantic. Now, for those of you that don't remember, The Atlantic was the story that, or was the outlet, the propaganda outlet. And yes, I am going to call them a propaganda outlet. But it was The Atlantic was the propaganda outlet that released the whole suckers and losers lie. For those that may not remember, Trump was accused of calling World War II veterans in a cemetery suckers and losers for going over and dying for essentially the fate of the world in their hands. It was completely debunked, all the way down to even the likes of John Bolton. Now, John Bolton himself is no fan of Trump. In fact, there is no way that he would actually stand up for Trump. But he did here. And he said, no, I didn't hear him say that. And he was reportedly there. Okay. Now, I say that because the same gentleman, and I'm using this term kind of loosely, but the same gentleman who came up with the suckers and losers hoax, which, by the way, The Atlantic had to go and retract afterward. But Jeffrey Goldberg, all right, remember that name, Jeffrey Goldberg, came out with a new article today that absurdly accuses Trump of a deranged racist insult to a murdered Army specialist, a young soldier, a female soldier who was murdered on Fort Hood, now called Fort Cavazos. Here in Wilkes-Barre, which breaks it down a little bit, is that, and here's the headline here's the headline that was in it. Trump says, quote, "I need the kind of generals that Hitler had." And the Republican nominee's preoccupation with dictators and his disdain for the American military is deepening. Yeah, it's all false. Let's just put it that way. There's zero evidence, just like with the suckers and losers, there's zero evidence that Trump has actually ever said that. And even if he did, again, you would think that they would have already said this. Now, according to the piece, it was General Mark Kelly, who used to be the chief of staff, Trump's chief of staff. And yeah, seriously, Kelly is a disgruntled and disgraced moron. He's been caught lying because he's the one that was supposedly the suckers and losers quote as well. And so Jeffrey Goldberg is trying to, of course, manipulate the election by coming out with this fake story. Well, here's the problem. When you get further down into the story, Okay, the title itself is trying to make give the inference that Trump is Hitler, all right, which we all know Trump is not. He has nothing to do with Hitler. In fact, he doesn't even want to be Hitler or anything else. But further down in the piece, okay, Jeffrey Goldberg, oh, and by the way, Jeffrey Goldberg, sidetrack. Jeffrey Goldberg, according to Woke Spy, also lied about Al-Qaeda working with Saddam Hussein to drum up support for the Iraq war. He pushed the hoax, again, that Trump referred to the dead service members as suckers and losers, and also helped hype the whole Russian collusion hoax that was running around in 2015, 2016. But further down in the piece, okay, he stated that Donald Trump, while president, had questioned the cost of a Army specialist, Vanessa Guillen. She was murdered in 2020 after disappearing from Fort Cavazos, again, Fort Hood, where she was staying. And so, according to Jeffrey Goldberg, who we already know is a liar, Jeffrey Goldberg said that according to his source, which was anonymous, of course, that Guillen's funeral will cost about $60,000, and that Trump said, quote, "It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a effing Mexican." Yeah. Yeah. It's not believable. And what was even funnier, so here's the thing, is that The Atlantic was picked up by CBS and they ran with the story. In fact, they headlined it on one of their programs. But here's the problem. First, the sister of Vanessa Guillen, Myra Guillen, posted an X and says, "Wow, I don't appreciate how you are exploiting my sister's death for politics, hurtful and disrespectful to the important changes she made for service members. President Donald Trump did nothing but show respect to my family and Vanessa. In fact, I voted for President Trump today." And it gets even worse. So the article continued on to claim that Trump ordered his, at the time, chief of staff, Mark Meadows, not to pay for Vanessa Guillen's funeral. Well, Mark Meadows posted on X, "I was in the discussions featured in the Atlantic's latest hit piece against President Trump. Let me say this. Any suggestions that President Trump disparaged Ms. Guillen or refused to pay for her funeral expenses is absolutely false. He was nothing but kind, gracious, and I think it's respectful." But seriously? So this continues, though, because the family's lawyer has also denied it. And these are all the named sources or the named people within the piece. So here's Greg Price. It points out literally not a single person who is mentioned by name in the story is saying this is true. The soldier's sister, the family's lawyer, Mark Meadows himself, former Trump staffers who were there, and another Jeffrey Goldberg masterclass in lying. Yeah, folks. I mean, seriously, if you're going to lie about something, holy shit, make sure that whatever you're doing is not going to get caught that quickly. And it does. It did. It got caught fast. So the lawyer, Natalie Quam, excoriated Goldberg for deliberately lying about his conversation with her. So here's her post on X. Having dealt with hundreds of reporters in my legal career, this is unfortunately the first time I have to go on record and call out Jeffrey Goldberg at The Atlantic. Not only did he misrepresent our conversation, but he outright lied in his sensational story. And she continued on with that, but it's really simple, okay? Really, really very simple. If you don't think that the mainstream media, and in this particular case, The Atlantic, is not funded by Democrat elite oligarch bullshitters, here's the proof. From Greg Price, in case you were wondering how much veracity you should treat Jeffrey Goldberg's latest anonymously sourced spectacle, the sister of the soldier in the story said it was false. Mark Meadows said it was false. The owner of The Atlantic is one of Kamala Harris's biggest donors. And there it is right there. Laureen Powell Jobs is one of Kamala Harris's biggest bankrollers and closest friends. And guess what? She owns The Atlantic. So the left-wing side, and believe me, the left, oh my gosh, they grabbed that headline. And everyone who is a leftist, again, they operate like a freaking Borg mind, all right? And they immediately picked it up and they took it and they ran with it and they spread it everywhere, all over. And like I said, CBS, who, by the way, is the overarching network for 60 Minutes, which still refuses to release the entire transcript of the Kamala Harris interview. Okay. But anyway, they all took it on. They all started talking about it, even though it was debunked and totally dismissed immediately. And yeah, so what a mess. Yes, Mark, 61 minutes. That's what Dan Bongino calls them. But anyway, this is just, it's going to get worse, people. And there's going to be more. There's going to be a lot more that talks about this. Now, to be kind of fair, okay, I do have to point out that there is a possibility, however probable it is, there is a possibility that the disinformation and misinformation and fake stories fall on both sides. So, I am only talking about this right now because of what I'm going to talk about next. I'm only talking about it is because it happens to fit within this particular scenario. I have literally zero confirmation outside of a suspectedly false story about what I'm about to tell you about Tim Walz. Okay. Now, there was a question, and I can't remember right off the top of my head. I think one of my P1 listeners on Rumble had mentioned a couple of days ago, said, "Hey, did you see that Tim Walz is being accused of potentially, shall we say, sexually abusing one of his students?" Well, here's the thing. There's no proof of that. And I personally, I am not going to confirm something that I haven't been able to confirm by at least 2 to 3 other sources outside of the initial conversation. And the reason being is because of the fact that obviously my integrity is at risk when I start talking about these kinds of things. So it was questionable, okay, in the beginning anyway. Well, now it seems that the U.S., and keep in mind, I'm not necessarily going with the idea that these guys are right, because remember the 51 intelligence officers and U.S. officials who said that the Hunter Biden laptop story was false when it was actually true. Okay. The thing about it is that a U.S. official has mentioned, and here we go again, this is Russia, all over again here. And The Guardian, by the way, where this piece comes from, is not exactly a staunch right-wing outlet or a staunch journalistic outlet, okay? But here's the thing, is that Russia may be behind the viral disinformation targeting Tim Walz, according to a U.S. official. Now, they apparently have confirmed that there is a connection. And the reason being that they figured out the connection is because of the fact that the person, the individual who was in the video, now I didn't see the video, but in the video that was discussing this or making this claim, okay, that individual and that video has been linked digitally wise to a Russian group that created and helped spread this disinformation. Now, when I first saw that headline, I didn't realize what they were talking about. I was thinking they were talking about his stolen valor, his cowardice by not going to Iraq. I was thinking that maybe it might have had something to do with his DUI. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that he left Minneapolis to burn for 3 days. Or maybe it had something to do with the fact that the food outlet that he, the food program that he did for kids wasn't under investigation by the federal government. No. All of that is true. Okay. All of that is completely true. It has all been verified. It is all true. But this, I kind of had a suspicion when I heard about it. I was like, I'm going to wait on this. As Dan Bongino says, the 72-hour Bongino rule. Okay. But this apparently is consistent with Russian disinformation. This, going back to the piece, is consistent with Russian disinformation seeking to undermine the Democratic campaign of Kamala Harris and Walz. No, actually, I don't see Russia trying to get her out because, I think Putin backed her. I seem to recall him saying that on video. Anyway, so, continuing on, Russia, of course, has spread information and disinformation aimed at stoking discord and division ahead of voting, so on and so forth. This is going to happen here, people. This is going to happen the closer that we get to Election Day. Now, I don't know. I didn't know about this. Apparently, there was another viral video that was running around that Microsoft and their analysts, okay, revealed that the viral video made a baseless claim that Harris left a woman paralyzed in a hit-and-run accident 13 years ago. Anybody see that video? I didn't see that video, but that's another example of what they are doing. And this video, this particular video for Tim Walz, surfaced featuring a man claiming to be a former student of Walz who accused the candidate of sexual misconduct years ago. Now, NewsGuard, which track that disinformation, already concluded the video was fake and that the man in the footage wasn't who he claimed to be. The Associated Press contacted a former employer of the man whose identity was used in the video. The employer, Victor Yelokhin, confirmed that the man shown in the video was an imposter. So, yeah, just keep in mind, not everything you see on the internet is actually real and true, all right? Not everything, and I'm only pointing this out, not to pat myself on the back, but to just say this: be suspicious, because in the next 2 weeks, and potentially even slightly beyond that, the next 2 weeks is going to be just rife and strife with all kinds of fake news, misinformation, stories to try and get either one or both candidates thrown off. All right. And, all of this kind of stuff makes me think about, what is the October surprise? Because we don't have very many days left in October. So, yeah, it's just remember it. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And you've got to look at everything with a very critical eye. That is what critical thinking is all about. So to make sure you verify your information, verify your facts, and so on and so forth. Now also too, I heard tell, and I saw a clip of Mark Halpern kind of indicating that he may have had a story that was given to him that may or may not be true. But according to him, is potentially a campaign killer for Trump. Now, he admits that it isn't true, that he doesn't know if it's true or not. Let's just put it that way. But I think personally that he might be trying to like drum up more business for himself and his podcast. I won't do that here. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you something that I haven't been able to verify. I'm not going to try and like lead you astray. And if I do, I will go ahead and correct the record if I find out that what I did is what I did is wrong or incorrect. I will certainly take care of that. Because my integrity is on the line here. You guys come here for factual information and opinions, and that's what I'm going to try and give to you. And I'm certainly not going to ruin that reputation. I have built up a very long reputation, not to pat myself on the back, but I have built up a very long reputation in my career, my entire career, even before I did this. Even before I was doing this, of being honest, truthful, and never lying. As I tell everybody, I can't tell a lie. I can only tell you a story. Yeah, figure that one out. All right. So Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris did her first of 2 interviews this week, which of course she had to take 2 days off in order to prepare for. Never mind that. No, actually mind that because that's true. But here we go is that, oh, thank you, Bonnie. That is so nice. Bonnie said, our opinion counts. Rick, he is a great teacher. Oh, thank you. That is so nice. Anyway, sorry, had to put that up there. Train wreck. Harris did an interview on NBC. Now she's also going to go and do a town hall on CNN. Now we'll see if that town hall on CNN, actually, I think she may have already done it. But anyway, she did this interview on NBC, and there were some takeaways that the Epoch Times picked up on. Okay. Now, first of all, let's just say this. Friday. Okay. I am not a big Joe Rogan fan. All right. But Friday, Donald Trump is going to be on the Joe Rogan podcast. Now, Joe Rogan has probably, I would have to say, the biggest podcast in the world. And so, you also got to consider too, that a lot of people who tune into his podcast is not what I would necessarily say Trump's normal voting block. Let's just put it that way. All right. So it's going to be interesting. It is definitely going to be interesting and going to be epic. Also, too, a little programming note as well, just for fun. And this one's kind of off the tracks, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. Even if you don't watch Dan Bongino, if you want to see a debate between Bongino and Cenk Uygur, or Cenk Uygur, I don't know how it's pronounced, who is with the Young Turks, it's supposedly going to happen on Friday, and they're working out the they're working out the details, but hopefully there's going to be some more on that as well. So Friday's going to be a huge day. I might actually listen to the Joe Rogan podcast just because Donald Trump is on it, because you know that Joe Rogan is going to actually hit him up with specific questions that may not be in his wheelhouse. So we'll just have to see what. Sorry, Jarhead, pronounced chunk yogurt. Anyway, yeah. So outside of that, if you really want to see a difference between Trump being asked questions live extemporaneously and unscripted versus Kamala Harris being asked questions extemporaneously live and unscripted, well, you'll never get it because Harris doesn't do anything unscripted very well, and especially not anymore. All right, back to 6 takeaways from the Harris interview on NBC. Here in the Epic Times, so she keeps calling for Americans to turn the page by electing her as president. But here's the question that I have in terms of that whole turn the page thing. Why would we say that we're turning the page when you're just going to be a continuation of Joe Biden? And you've even admitted that. Okay. So here's the thing. They asked apparently about her gender and saying, you know, there's a gender gap and gender related stuff. And apparently with regards to this race, because of course, you know, men are tending to break toward Trump. Women I won't say for the most part, but women are tending to break toward Kamala Harris, especially a certain type of women are going that way. But gender is apparently not an issue in the race, according to her. Harris said she believes that Americans are ready to turn the page and are ready for a woman president. The right woman, yes. The wrong woman, no. But anyway, though Harris is only the second woman to receive a major party nomination for the presidency, she rebuffed Jackson's assertion that Harris has been reluctant to comment on her gender. Harris said, "I'm clearly a woman." I'm going to ask, how do you know that? Define it. That would have been my response to it. But anyway, moving on. She was chuckling when Jackson raised the issue, adding that voters care more about a candidate's competence than gender. Well, no shit, lady. That's why we're voting for Trump. Anyway, she continues on. The point that most people really care about is, can you do the job and do you have a plan to actually focus on them? Okay. So she's making this nonchalant kind of comment about how gender is not really an issue, yet she runs on abortion. She has been running on the idea of giving black men, which again, she had to back off because constitutionally she can't do this, but she was going to give black men entrepreneurial loans, of which a certain portion would be able to paid back to be not to be paid back, and so on and so forth. So yeah. Anyway, once again, that wasn't really that good of an answer. She was asked by Jackson whether Harris would consider a pardon for the former president if she were elected. And Harris said, "I'm not going to get into those hypotheticals. I'm focused on the next 14 days. In other words, no. Jackson then asked whether Harris thought a pardon could help bring America together, and Harris responded by, "Let me tell you what's going to help us move on. I get elected president of the United States." No, lady. No. Anyway, she asked about her economic plan. She says that it centers on tax breaks and financial aid for consumers. She contrasted that with Trump's plan, which she said favors corporations. Kamala, I'm just going to point this out. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The TCJA benefited everyone, but benefited the middle class the most. Okay? Facts are there. It's in the books. It is 100% factual to make that statement. She, of course, talked about her, $6,000 for the first year of their child's life. Of course, she doesn't say, now this is something that I always think about whenever she says this. She doesn't say when you're going to get the money. It's just a tax credit. Well, how many people do you know that are middle class and lower class who actually put money aside for their taxes every year? I don't think very many middle class and lower class families can do that. Oh, yeah. Anyway, now, Harris also pointed out that she favors a national minimum wage of at least $15 per hour. Okay. Quick comment on the minimum wage, folks. And this is true. Economics 101. You have this thing called cost of goods and services. It's known in the economics world as COGS. Okay. Your COG for making a widget, and by a widget, I mean a thing, includes things like how much you pay your workers. That is considered a cost. Now, hold with me here. I know it's really tough for you Democrat morons because, you guys are a little slow in the verbal language department, as I just pointed out not too long ago. But when costs go up, prices go up because no corporation is going to take that cost going up and apply it to their profit. It's not going to happen. Okay. Now, whether, you can make an argument all day long about whether somebody's profit is enough or too much or, that kind of stuff. But the point is, though, is that in order to figure out how much profit you're going to make off of any given widget or any group of widgets, you have to figure out your costs first. Wages for your employees goes into that cost. And generally what you do is you add up all of your costs, then you figure out what profit margin you want to make. And once you do that profit margin, then you consider a price. Well, if my costs go up, then of course my price is going to go up. Chances are it's going to go up at the exact same rate if I am honest. Okay? So, that being said, minimum wage is not going, also too, let me tell you, when you raise the minimum wage, you're actually raising the cost of all stuff, whether it's goods and services and so on and so forth. But when you raise the minimum wage and you raise that cost of living, now all you're doing is raising that poverty line up. That's essentially it. So, yeah. Raising the minimum wage doesn't work. Not to mention the fact that a lot of people who may not want to pay that those extra prices because you end up pricing yourself out of the market. That's what happened in a lot of cases down in Seattle, when Seattle started their minimum wage hikes. Anyway, now, she also was asked about a religious exemption on abortion. Okay, first of all, as I've always said, abortion is not in the Constitution. Never has been, never will. It's not a right. Okay? But here's the deal. There's always a religious exemption because practicing your religion without interference from the government is a right listed in the First Amendment. It's called the free exercise thereof. So, if she was asked that if the reinstatement of Roe v. Wade happened through legislation, which you can't, but if they do, okay, that legislation would have to include things like religious exemptions. And she basically shot that down because of the fact that she said, quote, "I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body." Well, you didn't have a problem with that, Miss Harris, when COVID was in and you tried to get OSHA to force people to take the vaccine, which wasn't a vaccine and wasn't very effective, that we found out later. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm probably going to get kicked off on YouTube because of that statement. But anyway. So, yeah. On the question that government provided gender transition surgeries for inmates, Harris basically stated that she would follow the law. She says, "I believe that people, as our law states, even in this house even on this issue about federal law, that is a decision that doctors will make in terms of what's medically necessary. I'm not going to put myself in the position of a doctor." Well, no offense, but that should also be your same position about abortion. But anyway. Now, here's the kicker. So we all know that Biden has lost his ever-loving mind. We all know that. I mean, he's cognitively impaired. He probably shouldn't even be in the Oval Office in the first place. But she apparently was asked by Jackson if she had been completely truthful about Biden's mental acuity. Now, keep in mind, she's trying to distance herself, at least in the campaign, from Biden's policies and everything, even though Biden has consistently been saying, "Oh no, she's been right at my side the whole time." And Harris, of course, has been asked this question because everybody could see the cognitive decline. It was on full display during the debate with Donald Trump. But Harris says this: "Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president." Well, here's the follow-up question, sweetheart. Oh, sorry. She continued by saying that it was a bad debate. People have bad debates. Here's the question for you, sweetheart. If he is so cognitively impaired, then why are you running versus him? You literally, and the Obama-led elites, literally threw him off the ballot. You didn't have a single primary vote. Biden had it all locked up, and you guys in your coalition of elite Democrats kicked him to the curb, technically kicked him off the cliff, and you are now running for president because of the fact that Joe Biden, they were worried about, was potentially cognitively impaired. And that's the whole point. And he was losing, by the way, because people thought that he was cognitively impaired. Now, the last question, which I thought was pretty interesting, was the fact that they've been questioning, or Jackson asked if she had discussed the possibility with Liz Cheney being a cabinet member if she were elected. Harris said, "Of course, I'll keep you posted." Now, funny thing about that, Tim Walz was on Jon Stewart's show. I think it's called The Daily Show. And Jon Stewart basically asked the question of Tim Walz, why do you even have Liz Cheney? Well, Tim Walz, in his answer, sort of alluded to the fact that she's a useful idiot. We're keeping her around, and keep in mind, he didn't say this directly, but this was the meaning behind what he was trying to say. We're keeping her around because we think that she can actually shore up our voting, but we're not going to listen to her at all, and we're going to kick her to the curb afterward. So, Liz Cheney, you're a moron. Liz Cheney, you're a moron. Liz Cheney, you're a moron. You're being used for no uncertain terms. These people, I'm telling you. Well, there's indications that Kamala's camp might be in trouble. One of them being that a lot of, and by a lot, I mean, there's a couple of outlets that usually would vote or endorse Democrat presidents who haven't done it. Well, one of them was obviously a couple of the unions, which are typically Democrat endorsers. They endorse Democrats all the time. But now a paper. This is a paper in Kamala Harris's own state, who not only had endorsed her in the past for her attorney general job, as well as one other job. They've decided, according to the Blaze Media, the Los Angeles Times editorial board will not endorse Kamala Harris after decades of endorsing Democrats for president. Yeah. So, again, do you really think that her campaign is going well? Doesn't appear to be. So the board was reportedly told by the paper's owner to withhold their endorsement. The editorial board of the Los Angeles Times will not endorse anyone in the presidential election after having a 20-year run of endorsing nothing but Democrats. Oh, yeah, she looked like she's eating my hat. Here we go. Does it taste good, Kamala? Anyway. Sorry, for those of you on the audio portion program, that was a video piece. Anyway. Now, the thing about it is that the LA Times had, of course, endorsed Harris when she ran for California Attorney General in 2014 and in 2016 when she ran for the U.S. Senate. So, folks, the major Democrats are not, they're not backing her. There's some serious strife. There's some serious strife on this whole thing, in terms of what's going on. All right. Well, Kamala Harris has been caught once again lying. I know. It's a surprise for all you folks. Hey, let me refill my glass here. It's a surprise for everyone. I know. It's a shock to me too. That she's lying. That she's joining the ranks of the plagiarizing. She's following along the lines of her boss, Joe Biden, for sure. Just as a note, there's what I'm drinking now. So here's the thing. Remember how I told you a couple episodes ago about how her book was plagiarized? Well, that kicked off the interest of a couple of people, and one in particular happens to write for the Washington Free Beacon. His name is Aaron Sabarium. Okay? And he took a look at some other things that Kamala Harris has supposedly authored. Well, here's the problem. She apparently has plagiarized across her entire career. So, Kamala Harris apparently has plagiarized pages of congressional testimony from a Republican colleague. She also grabbed a story that was fictional, a fictionalized story about human trafficking, and used it as well. So they reviewed a bunch of her works and found instances of plagiarism that extends beyond her book, Smart on Crime. And so here on April 24, this is in the piece from Aaron. On April 24, 2007, Kamala Harris testified before Congress in support of the John R. Justice Prosecutors and Defenders Incentive Act of 2007. The bill, which was introduced that year but was never passed in the upper chamber, would have created a student loan repayment program for state and local prosecutors, and Harris, who was then the district attorney of San Francisco, argued that it would draw top legal talent to offices like hers. In a written statement to the House Judiciary Committee, she described how debt-addled prosecutors often decamp to the private sector a few years into the job, lured by the prospect of higher pay that could be used to pay off all the law school debt. That dynamic left many district attorneys' offices short-staffed, she said, forcing them to put rookie attorneys on complex cases. Gee, I wonder if that would happen with Fannie Willis. Oh, wait, Nathan Wade was paid exorbitantly for his position. Never mind. All right. She apparently looked at her testimony, and her testimony, by the way, about that bill was completely taken from that of another district attorney by the name of Paul Logli, Logli, of Winnebago County, Illinois, who had testified in support of the legislation 2 months earlier before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Both statements cite the exact same surveys, use the same language, and make the same points in the same order, with a paragraph or word added here or there. They even contain the same typos, missing punctuation, mistaken plurals. One error, which was the word who instead of a whom, was actually corrected in Harris's transposition. But if you're watching the program, look at this. Look at the page. And I'm serious. Go and take a look at this. Oh, this isn't very good. Let me show you in. Here we go. So take a look at this. Oh, I can't. Okay. Well, I can't zoom in on that. But you can take a look at this. This is like a piece of it. They highlighted the entire freaking thing. The one on the left is the Logli testimony, and the one on the right is Harris's, and they highlighted everything that is similar. We're talking exactly the same, word for word, from the left column to the right column. This is complete 100% plagiarism, folks. I can't even imagine that she even got away with this, to be honest with you. But she's done that apparently multiple times. He's got this Aaron gentleman has an entire list of all the times that she's done it. 80% of what she said was copied. Nearly 1,200 of the 1,500 words that she added to the program was copied from Logli also submitted on February 27th in 2007, 2 months before Harris served or did her same thing. I mean, seriously? She completely plagiarized somebody else's work. And you want the morons out there, Democrat morons, want this person in the Oval Office for president? You have got to be shitting me. I mean, this is ridiculous. Well, apparently her internal polling has gotten so bad. And I'm just saying that it's gotten bad only because of the signs that we are seeing. Yeah, Jarhead. Jarhead said, she's very, very good with Control-C and Control-V. For those of you who are not computer literate, that is Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste. Anyway, as I was saying, so it's really kind of interesting. The signs are all there that her campaign is starting to fizzle out. And obviously the biggest reason is because of the fact that, and yes, Bam, I do have a pet of the week coming up. But because of the fact that her her campaign is starting to resort to name calling and lies and everything else because, that whole thing that was in the Atlantic, well, both her and Walls picked it up and have obviously repeated it already. Okay. And so, yeah, it's like, seriously, you guys are in trouble. We know you're in trouble. We see it. We see all the signs. They're all there. Your sycophantic followers all over the mainstream media and everything else are doing the exact same thing. But when you have a left-leaning outlet known as The Hill post an opinion piece in their magazine or newspaper, I don't know which this is, but I think it's a newspaper. But when you have them post an opinion piece that is titled, "What if Joe Biden was the better candidate all along?" Oh my gosh. Now, this opinion writer guises this as sort of a thought experiment, he says. Okay. But by most accounts, the election is still a horse race too close to call. Yeah, I don't know about that. But although Vice President Kamala Harris quickly assumed the presidential mantle from Joe Biden and put in place an impressive startup, October has not been particularly kind to her. You think? It's her own fault. Anyway, moving on back to the piece. Donald Trump has closed the electoral gaps, and some believe he is actually leading. It's not some. He is leading. He's leading in every swing state right now. Even if it is by a small percentage, he's still leading. Anyway, the opinion writer goes on and says, no matter who wins, we have to ask, would President Biden have been a better candidate and choice despite suffering the effects of age and 81 years? Further, suppose that the disastrous June 27th debate with Trump had not taken place, or that Biden had been firing on all cylinders that night. Would Biden have been forced to withdraw? And whether Harris loses or wins, some will ask whether Biden might still have been a better candidate. Yeah. What do you guys think about that? I mean, when your own party is starting to write questioning whether or not the decision to rip the voted for primary winner out and anoint the current candidate, you got to question yourself. Is it possible that Joe Biden could have been better? Well, you recall that Joe Biden and Barack Obama had a conversation at Edith Kennedy's funeral that was apparently just over this suggestion, which is essentially that Biden says, I'm stronger than her. And Obama nods and says, yes, and agrees with him. Now, seriously? Seriously. She has made some serious missteps along the way, and she is not at all. She is not a good candidate. She never will be. She doesn't know how to speak extemporaneously off the cuff, and when she does, she sounds like a blithering idiot and a complete moron. She's obviously a plagiarist without having a single, solitary, independent thought on her own. And unfortunately, she is not very likable. Now, one thing that I have noticed, by the way, in her recent appearances, have all been dealing with the fact that she has her laugh back. She's laughing again. She's smiling. She's laughing. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, let's get serious here, folks. With less than 2 weeks out, and she is delivering less than stellar performances, she can't even get Obama. I mean, Obama really isn't even making much of an impact, to be honest with you. Okay. Obama isn't even making much of an impact on the black vote as what they would think or what they would hope that he would. it's not going her way. But regardless of what I say here on the program, regardless of what victories we gain in the polls, regardless of how many times you hear, oh, Kamala Harris campaign, Harris Walls, man, they are in trouble. Regardless of all of that, folks, remember one thing. You must execute, execute, execute. That means vote, vote, vote. Vote early, vote early, vote early. And of course, make sure that you not only vote early, but vote all Republican down ballot if you can. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because of the fact that we need not only to win back the Senate at the same time, but we also need to maintain control in the House. Vote, vote, vote. If you haven't voted yet, go. If you have voted, encourage others to go. Try to get at least 10 people to vote with you. Or, like I said, if you've already voted, 10 people at a minimum. Tell them to vote. Get them out. Get them to vote. Execute, execute, execute. Okay? Yeah, 3 Chevy. Anyway. So, yeah, it's just, we're down to the wire, people. We're down to the wire. And we have to make sure, okay, we have to make sure that we just overload the system to the point where it is literally too big to rig. That's what we need to do. Okay? So vote, 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 execute, execute, execute. All right. Enough on that. Okay. So tonight, well, let's go ahead and do it. Tonight, let's go ahead and do tonight's fan favorite. This is a fan favorite, believe me. And I'm starting to run out, by the way. So if you have a pet, you might want to submit it soon. But let's go with tonight's pet of the week. All right. And tonight's pet of the week comes from Ms. T of Texas. Now it's interesting, Ms. T, and I'll tell you a little story here in a little bit, but let me go ahead and get this over here. Whoop. Get this one. And there he is. And by the way, as I start pet of the week, okay, let me ask you this. Do you guys think I should be saying hello to Landon when we start pet of the week? Should I be like, Landon, how are you? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy, Landon? There we go. Anyway. All right. So there we go. Here is Ms. T of Texas' new arrival to what she calls the oasis in the swamp. Okay. And she's got a couple shots here, but apparently this is known as Sir Yowl. And apparently he lives up to his name. So here she writes, "Hey, Rick, I get lost trying to do the sending pictures. Last time, Outlaw Dogs helped me, but I have a couple shots of a new arrival to the oasis to the swamp. We've dubbed him Sir Yowl. He's more than earned the moniker." And she follows with that by saying, probably weighs upwards of 15 pounds. And she signs it Ms. T of Tex. So take a look at this photo that I have here. Take a really close look. Do you think that cat weighs about 15 pounds? You think that cat weighs about 15 pounds? It's possible. It's possible. I'm just going to say it's possible. But I can tell you for damn certain, and you guys have seen her on this program, I showed her in an elf costume last Christmas. Unfortunately, Ms. T, this cat is small by comparison. Our baby cat Cleo was weighed last night by my daughter. And it turns out she is almost 18 pounds. My wife couldn't believe that. She was like, 17.9 pounds is not 18. Sorry, Mrs. Whiskey, but yes, it is. I can't even believe that that cat is that big. She is, well, let's just say she's a little chunk. But anyway, not about her. It's about Sir Yowl. Sir Yowl here. Here's another photo of Sir Yowl hanging out. Now, I got to ask Ms. T. And hopefully she'll be able to answer fairly quickly here, or at least maybe G can. But I got to ask Ms. T. Is he strictly outdoor, or is he indoor outdoor? So that's, I just got to, oh, apparently I'm being called out because Bam is like, Whiskey, you have pet of the week in your house. We need pics. So I need to get pics. Well, you've seen a couple of them already. And apparently 18 pounds is not all that big because Coco DeWhiskey writes that she had a 26-pound cat. Oh my gosh, 26 pounds. That is huge. Well, I've been told by Ms. T that he is an outdoor-only cat. So there he is. And supposedly that's a full-scale sundial that's sitting behind him. So, okay, but I'm gonna guess, I'm just going to say this. You guys need to weigh him because I honestly do not believe that he's 15 pounds. I think he's actually more than 15 pounds. Okay? I'm going to say that he's going to be a little bit closer to maybe 17. Okay? But anyway. So there we go. There we have tonight's pet of the week, Sir Yowl. And apparently he definitely lives up to the name. And so there you go. Thank you very much for sharing, Ms. T. That is absolutely wonderful. And if you would like to see your pet on here for Pet of the Week, it's really very simple. This is a Wednesday night, end of the show segment. And it's really very simple. All you have to do is send me either photos, videos, both, whatever, and some sort of a story. Name, breed, if you know it, any kind of a bit of a story that goes along with it, maybe how you got them, so on and so forth. And believe me, we've had all kinds of animals. We've had cranes, we've had hummingbirds, we've had all kinds of animals. So if you have something that is unique and interesting around your house or your place, and you want to share it, go ahead and get photos and send it on to me at fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. Now, one other thing, too, is that I believe I need a question of the week for the end of this week. So for those of you who are not familiar with the program, I also do a question of the week on Saturday, which is another segment where I get a question. I pull a question that is sent to me. And if it's a question that I don't know the answer to, I go ahead and research it for you in order to come up with, a plausible and realistic answer. Otherwise, if I do know the answer, I'll tell you what I know. So if you want to do that for this Saturday, go ahead and send in a question of the week. Send it in to the same email address, fans at AmericanPerspective.online. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you would, please head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account if you don't already have one. And if so, once you have one, or if you already have one, sign in. And then, of course, find and follow the American Perspective channel. Follow button is really big and green. You cannot miss it. Also, too, before you take off, make sure you hit those thumbs up buttons, those like buttons, etc., because of the fact that all of that can help elevate these videos for me at all of my outlets, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, X, or, of course, Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.